Hi, boys and girls. It's Mrs. Disidore here to read Skellig. This is for the 4th and 5th graders. Today is Wednesday, April 1st, April Fool's Day. Okay, and we left off with Skellig. We have Michael moving to this new house, which seems a bit run down. It needs a lot of work. And in his backyard is a big old garage that looks like it's about to fall down. His parents don't want him near it. His parents don't want him going inside of it because they don't want him getting hurt. It's really packed with old things, and he's very curious about what's in there. And he hears something moving around, and he explores a little more, even though he shouldn't be. And he finds, like, something in there, like a human or some man or something. And he talks. And that's where we left off yesterday. Okay, so now we're up to chapter 4. So where we left off yesterday was that Michael was in the garage, and his dad caught him in there, and he said, "Let's go, get out of here before your mother sees." And he saw that man in there, or whatever it is. Also, we learned that the parents are really stressed because the baby came too early, his sister, and I don't think she's doing very well. So let's see what happens in chapter 4. I hardly slept that night. Every time I did drop off, I saw him coming out of the garage door and coming through the ragged backyard to the house. I saw him in my bedroom. I saw him come right to the bed. He stood there all dusty and white with the dead bugs all over him. "What do you want?" he whispered. I said, "What do you want?" Told myself I was stupid. I'd never see him at all. It was all in my head. That had all been part of a dream as well. I lay there in the dark. I heard Dad snoring, and when I listened hard, I could hear the baby breathing. Her breathing was cracked and hissy. In the middle of the night, when it was pitch black, I dropped off again. But she started bawling. I heard Mom getting up to feed her. I heard Mom's voice cooing and comforting. Then there was just silence again, and Dad snoring again. I listened hard for the baby again, and I couldn't hear her. It was already getting light when I got up and tiptoed into their room. Her crib was beside their bed. They were lying fast asleep with their arms around each other. I looked down at the baby. I slipped my hand under the covers and touched her. I could feel her heart beating fast. I could feel the thin rattle of her breath and her chest rising and falling. I felt how hot it was in there, how soft her bones were, how tiny she was. There was a dribble of spit and milk on her neck. I wondered if she was going to die. They'd been so scared about that in the hospital. Before they let her come home, she'd been in a glass case with tubes and wires sticking in her, and we'd stood around staring in like she was in a fish tank. I took my hands away and tucked the covers around her again. Her face was dead white and her hair was dead black. They told me I had to keep praying for her, but I didn't know what to pray. "Hurry up and get strong if you're going to," I whispered. Mom half woke and saw me there. "What you want, love?" she whispered. She stretched her hand out of the bed toward me. "Nothing," I whispered, and tiptoed back to my room. I looked down into the backyard. There was a blackbird singing away on the garage roof. I thought of him lying behind the tea chests with the cobwebs in his hair. What was he doing there? Now we're on to chapter 5. All right, I'll move on. I'll go to chapter 5. I asked him at breakfast what was going to happen to the garage now. "When they coming to clear it out?" I said. Mom clicked her tongue and sighed and looked up at the ceiling. "When we can get somebody to come," said Dad. "It's not important, son, not now." "Okay," I said. He was going to be off work that day so he could get on with the house and start fixing it up. Mom was taking the baby for more checkups at the hospital. "Should I stay home so I can help?" I said. "Yes," he said. "You can take Ernie's toilet out and scrub the floorboards around it." "I'll go to school," I said, and I shoved my backpack. I shoved my packed lunch into my backpack and headed out. Before we moved, they asked me if I wanted to change schools as well, but I didn't. I wanted to stay at Kenny Street School with Leaky and Coot. I didn't mind that I'd have to get the bus through town. That morning I told myself that it gave me time to think about what was going on. I tried to think about it, but I couldn't think. I watched the people getting on and off. I looked at them reading their papers or picking their nails or looking dreamily out the windows. I thought how you could never tell just by looking at them what they were thinking or what was happening in their lives. Even when you got crazy people that went on stupidly and shouted rubbish or tried to tell you all about themselves, you could never really tell about them either. I wanted to stand up and said, "There's a man in our garage, and my sister is ill, and it's the first day I've traveled from the new house to the old school." But I didn't. I just went on looking at all the faces and swinging back and forth when the bus swung round corners. I knew if somebody looked at me, they'd know nothing about me either. It was strange being at school again. Loads had happened to me, but school stayed just the same. Mr. Rasputson still asked us to lift up our hearts and voices and sing out loud in assembly. The Yeti yelled at us to keep to the left in the corridors. Monkey Midford went red in the face and stamped his feet when we didn't know our fractions. Miss Clark got tears in her eyes when she told us the story of Icarus, how his wings had melted when he flew too close to the sun, and how he had dropped like a stone past his father into the sea. At lunchtime, Leaky and Coot argued for ages about whether a shot had gone over the line. I couldn't be bothered with it all. I went to the fence at the edge of the field and stared over the town toward where I lived. When I was staring there, Mrs. Dando, one of the yard ladies, came over to me. She'd known my parents for years. "You okay, Michael?" she said. "Fine." "And the baby?" "Fine, too." "Not playing soccer today?" I shook my head. Tell your parents I was asking," she said. She took a gumdrop out of her pocket and held it out to me. A gumdrop. It was what she gave the new kids when they were sad or something. "Just for you," she whispered, and she winked. "No," I said. "No, thanks." And I ran back and did a brilliant sliding tackle on Coot. All day I wondered about telling somebody what I'd seen, but I told nobody. I said to myself, it had just been a dream. It must have been. Okay, so we're going to stop there. I read chapters 4 and 5, and just to review, he's thinking that what he saw was just a dream. There's no way there can be someone living in that garage or someone in that garage. He feels like it didn't really happen, okay? And another thing we learned is that even though he moved to a new house, he's still going to the same school. So his friends are still there, and he just has to take a longer bus ride through town. And the last thing we did know is that the baby is home, although she's had a lot of complications and a lot of problems. So that's the end of those chapters, and please tune in tomorrow for chapters 6 and 7. Hope to see you there. Enjoy the rest of your afternoon. Miss you guys. Bye.